I was around 7 years old when I first had that ache, that pulling, that searching for something. I remember that I was 7 because I was in primary three. I remember that I was in primary three because I had just moved to a new school. I remember the feeling. I remember the first time I really experienced that feeling. I remember it because I was on the playground and it scared me. I had this embodied feeling of watching people and myself and wondering if this was all. I wondered what I was doing here. I saw my playmates, my classmates, my schoolmates with glee on their faces running about the playground. And I just remember watching and feeling so disembodied and feeling this longing for something more. I couldn't quite name it. And that was, I think that I've had that feeling even before then, but that was the most, that is, that memory is the one that has lingered, that has imprinted as the first memory that really shook me. And after that time, I've had that kind of feeling over and over and over, that ache. And I used to think I was the only one that felt that. I used to think that there might be something wrong with me for feeling that way, this longing for something. And when I say this, you might think, oh, it's natural to ask about parental love in situations like this, but I was loved. I had an amazing mother, someone that I admire and still miss so much. And she loved me so much. She is the one that set the standard for the love that I should receive. That, and I have not met any love that comes quite close. I have been loved. I have been loved. My mother was amazing and she loved me. My father thinks I'm radiant. He loves my mind. He loves me. I have been loved. And so this is not about love. I have had romantic loves. Not much, but I have experienced kindness from romantic partners. I've had masculine love that felt really safe. They didn't last long, but they were enough to imprint on me that I was valuable, that I was loved, I was worthy of being loved. So this is not about love. I have had love. I have been in the presence of human love and still craved for this thing. And it was so scary at first, so scary, until I realized that I was not the only one that felt this way. Other people have felt this way throughout time, throughout their lives. Many people have battled with this feeling. It can sometimes come across as depression. And this is not to make light of depression or to make it something woo-woo, right? But I think that that feeling is a longing for returning to source. I would hope that anyone who suffers from depression can have all the care they can get, because I also believe that there's so much more that can be done, medically for depression. I do believe that. I am a pharmacist, and when I studied pharmacology and the pharmacology of antidepressives, I remember thinking that the side effects were so bad. Some of them had suicidal ideation. I remember thinking that there has to be more done on this. So I know, and I have seen the wonders of medicine. I have seen the wonders of modern medicine, and I believe that there's so much work that can be done, and that even what we have now is so much impressive. It's very impressive, and I hope that anyone who suffers can find help. I really do hope so. But I also think that there is a part of it that can be spiritual. And so that's why I'm making the disclaimer that this video is not it's not supposed to be a cure for anyone who suffers. But I'm talking about this ache, right? This ache that makes many of us chase after things with such frenzy and lost and hope that it can fill us. And when we get it, we realize that it doesn't fill us. The hole, the ache, this longing, I think that it's a longing for God. And when we speak about God, religion is always quick to brandish itself as the cure-all. But if it was the cure-all, I would not have been in church and still had that ache. And I remember being in church many times and feeling the anointing, right? Feeling the presence of the Holy Spirit, of the Spirit, of the divine, of the source. I remember feeling that and still aching. You know, it's the ache is a little more silent when I am in church, but it's there. The ache for more. The ache for more. I liken it to children being dropped off at school, you know, crying and clinging at their mothers and clinging and calling for their mothers. Some eventually forget in a few minutes that they were crying for their mom. They interact with their friends and forget about their sorrows at being separated from their parents. Those are the well-adapted children. Those are the good children. Those are healthy by all human standards, but there are also children who don't quite adapt to being separated from their mothers, from their fathers, that are quite gloomy until they go back home. They might make friends, but there's still a part of them that cannot wait to go home. And I think that souls are the same way. And when I did not understand it was torturous, but understanding it has helped me make even the aching kind of fun. Each day is a new day to explore what might help soothe the pain, soothe the ache. Each time it comes up, it's a challenge. What will work this time to soothe this ache? What will work this time? It's not as often as it is. It's not as often. It doesn't come as often as it used to, but it still comes. The ache. It still comes, but now that I know what it is not as pressing as it used to be. It's not as overwhelming as it used to be. So it's like being dropped off at school. Some souls never quite get used to the separation. They know that they have left something and they just want to be returned back to that source. Others have a very good time. They forget that they were even separated, that there was somewhere they came from. They form a new ecosystem in their schools. They thrive, but others don't quite thrive. I think souls are the same way. But I also believe in the concept of reincarnation. I do not believe that everyone reincarnates, but I think that if you caught your lesson too quickly, you would come back. Because as much as the source and God and the divine is loving, they are also quite strict about teaching. And we are here to learn. And we do not get to cut our lessons short. I think so. I just believe so. If religion was the answer, then no seriously religious person will have that ache. But what we crave for is not the God that can be discovered in this world, not the fractal of God, not the expression of God that can be experienced with the flesh. What we crave for is not that version of God. What some of us crave for is not that version of God. Just like Jesus knew that something had left him when the woman with the issue of blood touched him, some souls know that they have left something. They are acutely aware that they have left something. I have to say, I am not depressed. I have been depressed, really depressed, but I have, with the help of the spirit and of source, with the help of source and spirit, with the help of people, I have walked my way back. I sort of enjoy the school right now. I sort of do enjoy the school. I think it's mostly because I have found a way to study my own curriculum, to create my own curriculum. I have found a way to study topics that interest me instead of the general curriculum. That is what has made life and the school so much interesting than it used to be. If religion was solely the answer, then no one who is religious would have that ache. But a lot of people do, and they're afraid to say that they do because then it will bring in question their relationship with God. Because we almost always have issues with holding two different truths. Almost always have issues with that. I think that for the most part, religion is like having a child in school cry for their mothers and, making a video call with their mother and showing them their mother, like, hey, look at your mom over here. Or showing a crying child a picture of their mother, right? It can help, it can soothe them, it can bring so much relief. But it doesn't work all the time. Sometimes they need that sense of their mother, they need to hold their mother, they need to be in her arms. And that is what the ache is about. Again, I do not think that the answer is cutting short our lessons here by ourselves. I think that many who do will return to learn the lesson. I do not know how, I do not have any proof. This is just a stream of consciousness. This is just me exploring some of my thoughts that I fear to share with people. But I really do believe that. I do not think that it is out of hatred that the source and the divine and God will do that. It's just like, skipping school and having your mother return you to school or something. It's not out of hatred that your mother does that. You just have to learn. Whatever it is, I do not know, but you just have to learn. And it's just like lessons in school. I never quite know how finding X mattered, right? Or mathematics, but I think that somewhere in my everyday life, the skills that I learned while learning mathematics shows up in my everyday life. I do not know how. My mom would say that approximation teaches us how to cross Nigerian roads. When you learn approximation in school, it teaches you how to cross Nigerian roads. Because I remember being so frustrated with mathematics and saying, how does this help me as an adult? And my mom struggling to come up with ways in which it helps. And she's like, oh, approximation, approximation will teach you how to cross Nigerian roads. And if you are a Nigerian, you know how funny that is. You know that crossing roads are really a mathematics thing. I have written much more on this topic on my WhatsApp status, and because of that I feel like I'm dry and I do not have so much more to say on this. I just want to reiterate that those who suffer, that the ache might be a physical condition, it might just be the brain being the brain, it might just be a poorly functional brain. It might just be that. And drugs might help, and drugs most likely help for many people it does, it saves lives. But I think that there might be a spiritual aspect to some of the aching, to some of that feeling of restlessness, that it might not just be a physical illness. I think so. Some children are just clingy. When you have a clingy child, chastising them for crying and being moody when they are separated from their parent, I don't think that's the best way to go about it. The best way is just to make peace with the fact that school is part of our life for the most part. Going to school, so it's part of our life. And the clingy children just have to find a way to cope and have fun even while schooling lasts. And whatever you need to do to make your time in school bearable or even enjoyable, and I think that we should all aim for enjoyable, but whatever you need to do to make your stay in school last, then you should do it. Whether it be drugs, that is, getting help from, a doctor or a hospital, whether it's religion, whether it's walking, whether it's communion with other people, whatever it is that you do is valid. It's valid. But I just wanted to explore this other angle as a source of the ache, and I do not want to equate the ache with depression, but I just needed to touch on it because they are a little bit alike, but I don't think they are alike at all. Someone can have a very fulfilling life and love their lives as I do, but still have that ache. And I think this is where people who have everything might wonder, like, I'm not really sad, but why do I just still want more? Why do I just still want more? Even though I have everything, I have a great husband or wife, I have children, I have all the money that I need and want, I have a beautiful home. Why do I still ache for more? I think it's an ache for God. It doesn't always mean that it's depression. It could be, but I think it's an ache for God. And I don't think that the God is necessarily the God that we find in religion. So if you're religious and you have that ache, if you're a spiritual person and you have that ache, this does not mean that your relationship with God is in question. It just means that you are more aware that you came from something. That's what I think. So whatever you need to do to hang on, whatever you need to do to soothe the ache, do it. We are a fractal of God. We have been cut from the cloth of God, and I like to believe that God longs for us just as we long for God, and not just in the way that religion provides. I think that God also longs for us. That should give us some comfort. That is all for this video. I don't know if it helps. I'm just sharing my streams of consciousness. I hope to see you in my future videos.